Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another vintage stream. Video? I guess they're videos now, not so much with the streaming. I should fire up the stream sometime soon though, it's been a while. So today we're going to be looking at what is essentially a vintage death and taxes list. We're really looking to limit our opponent's resources. We've got Thalias for taxation. We have Kataki to kind of dampen the effect of Moxen. We have Leon and Arbiter to stop searching, which is very relevant in Vintage, given the power of some of the tutor effects. We also have Leon and Relic Warder to bully some artifacts, you know, the Moxen and such. And Spirit of the Labyrinth to drop to stop powerful cards like Ancestral from ever happening. So essentially, a lot of these like Death and Taxes, Hate Bearer style decks end up being very powerful versus blue decks, and then you end up having a lot of trouble with Shops style decks. And I'm hoping that a pile of Relic Warders alongside a pile of Katakis in the main deck, supplemented by some additional removal, might be enough to make it so that we can actually reasonably do some real damage versus that deck as well. So one of the things that makes it so that this deck isn't just like a total embarrassment is actually Luminarch Aspirant. So this is a solid flex option in Legacy, but a vintage staple in these style of decks. It's just one of the best lords that you can get, especially at 2 mana, and it just spirals out of control. And it means that a large creature, like say a hollow one that gets into play, isn't just going to brick wall all of your X1 creatures forever, and it also occasionally gets you out of some removal range. So for example, Archon of Emeria is often in these sorts of decks, and once you get that out of Lightning Bolt range, it ends up being really obnoxious. Now, you'll notice that we did not go up to the 3-drop slot for Archon, which is normally really good in these styles of decks. And that is because Lurrus is legal in Vintage. And so we're going to get Lurrus as sort of a mana sink and way to recur our various creatures, and sometimes even Black Lotus itself, later on in the game. The sideboard has some interesting stuff here. The Stony Silences and Null Rods are probably not too surprising. You know, this is Vintage after all. But the Serum Powder is something that's really interesting. I first looked at the list and I went, yeah, I should probably cut that before I started the league. And then I thought about it and went, you know, in a lot of these matchups where I'm going to board in something like Leyline of the Void anyway, I am going to be mulliganing for it, and this is kind of like a 5th copy of Leyline of the Void. And I decided that I'm here for it, and I want to try it out. It's been a couple of weeks since I recorded some Vintage, so I decided to bump this one up to the top of the queue. Also, like, just being honest, I'm having a very busy week, and I'm probably only going to have time for 4 videos this week, and maybe next week as well. We'll kind of see where things are falling after that. I don't think I have too much else to say. Let's destroy some land, tax some permanents, make it so Moxen don't work, and hopefully win some games of Vintage. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for Legacy, Modern, and Vintage content 5-ish days a week. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before we get started. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle, and deck list and such is available in the video description if you need it. Okay, I have a turn 1 Spirit of the Labyrinth with this hand, and a Ghost Quarter which potentially destroys a land. This is turn 1 Spirit of the Labyrinth, turn 2 get Lurrus, turn 3 play Lurrus. I think this hand is okay on the draw, but I don't know. Alright, so we're playing against one of my harder matchups. But we get to blow up this on turn 1, so that's good. Bad is the fact that my Moxen are now basically dead. Good is this Kataki. Holy moly, that's going to be good. I do just need to Ghost Quarter this land, though. That's just, you know, a non-starter. That just has to happen. Ghost Quarter just acting as Strip Mine here. And now we get to play the game of, like, who has more mana producers now. Hey, you remember how I always talk about basic lands just being the fucking stone cold nuts? This is a great example of that. Okay. I have plenty of lands, so my stuff's safe for now. Normally that Lotus would be a great draw, not right now. So if my opponent has a land drop here, things could start to happen on their end. My Kataki will be excellent. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how many lands that I have. I'm not going to bother to math it out. Like, either I get them or I don't. Alright, well, my opponent's thinking. Alright, so I have 20 actual lands, so I have 17 remaining in deck, 17 out of 50. Okay. There's some situations where we end up just kind of staring at each other for a little while. Okay, my opponent did end up having another land. Yeah, you can have your Evoker. That's not something that I am worried about right now. Naming a Walking Ballista, that's reasonable. Alright, looks like I'm going to go to discard here. It's probably just one of my 0-drops that I can't easily play right now. If the Turnisphere ends up leaving due to Kataki, I'd rather have the Moxen or the Lotus. I'll put the Lotus in the graveyard because I can get it back. Actually, if I can get it back, it's better than a Mox, right? Alright. The thing I'm afraid of is my opponent topping another workshop and then playing something big and dumb. But I can deal with this size stuff without any sort of trouble. Okay. Fuck. That's bad. I'm gonna go to 18 here. Fuck. Actually, it's not that bad. This interaction is going to be mostly favorable for me. But this may just be a game where like my opponent won because they had a restricted card in their opener and they were on the play. Yeah. So this gets a workshop, and now my opponent can like pay for all their stuff via Kataki. This is not great for me. I think I need to hit my land this turn or I'm not coming back. Okay, they're just choosing Strip Mine even. Yeah, if I don't hit a land drop here, I'm stone cold dead. Alright. That happens. Alright, our land was the next card. Say Livy. Alright, what do we have for this? I 100% want Kataki and Source of Plowshares. I 100% do not want Chalice. I do not want Mental Misstep. And I do not want these Mother of Runes, if at all possible. The rest of this stuff can stay. So this probably means that like some combination of Null Rods and Stony Silences will round out the deck here. Actually, I think I'm going to split this in favor of Stony Silence, despite the fact that Null Rod is colorless because of Kataki. I don't think I'm going to board in the other Null Rod immediately until I get a slightly better feel for what my opponent is doing. I do want to keep a critical density of creatures. Like, I only have 21 creatures, so I don't know that I want to just pull another creature willy-nilly. I could go down a Lotus Petal to play the other Null Rod, actually. Sure, let's do that. There's also a world where Lotus Petal is just better than one of the other Moxen if I'm boarding in a bunch of Artifact 8. Yeah, I'll keep this. The Arbiter has some effects versus like Golos type cards, and I can play out some stuff and then use Kataki to try to wipe my opponent's stuff. This also just sets up the Ghost Quarter combo where I get to Ghost Quarter, quote-unquote, for free, although we already know that my opponent does not have a basic Wastes in their deck. The next turn may be a turn where, rather than playing the Kataki, I actually just put Luris into my hand. So I don't have the second white to actually just legit cast it yet. Okay, yeah, I'll use my turn to Ghost Quarter that then. In all likelihood. I mean, we'll see what happens. Alright. That is a large Stonecoil Serpent. Okay, there's my other white for Luris. So, I blow up this land. Now, do I want a Kataki? I might not want a Kataki until I've played Luris. Like, it makes it so that my opponent has only has one showing mana versus 3, though. I don't know, I kind of feel like I need this Luris in play right now. The Kataki does great things. It's not necessarily just winning me the game innately. My opponent just pays for all their stuff, attacks for 5, and then I have 4 power in play versus my opponent's 5. Yeah, I think I'm gonna return this. The dream combination here is like Kataki plus a Stony Silence in the same turn cycle, and then I just get like all my opponent's permanents, or very close to it. There's a world where this ends up backfiring. Oh, this is a little rough. Yeah. Okay, say Livy. Well. Okay, so if I can get this Kataki into play by drawing another land, I am just going to win the game. Alright, I will need to draw a land. Yup. This is an awkward game. Yet! My own cards are being used against me. Yeah, so I believe I'm on no outs to win now. This tramples? Yeah, this tramples. Fuck. Oh, yeah, we're dead. Yeah, I can't even draw land in order to get through this. Well, I guess I could chump block and then draw land. Okay, that has to be the line. That's rough. God damn it. Alright, concede. Concede. Alright. Brutal. Yeah, see, I wanted to draw this. I wanted this to be on my side. Not used against me before I could get this Kataki in play. Yeah, we needed to survive a few more turns. Okay, I'll be keeping a hand here that allows me to just play a turn 1 Thalia with Karakas backup. JK. Oh, okay, so it looks like we were playing against Dredge. That's a Narcomoeba pitched there. My hand got slower. Thalia hopefully can do some work. But yeah. We're looking to win this matchup in games 2 and 3 via potent sideboard cards like Containment Priest, Ley Lines, and Serum Powder to find it. Alright, so we do get to just nuke this hollow one without sort of skipping a beat here. That's good for me, and I don't expect my opponent will have a basic. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's pretty good, right? Well, sometimes. Sometimes this is good, sometimes it's not. Kind of depends on what opponent's graveyard ends up looking like. I think I will go ahead and do this first. So Dredge is a replacement effect. So my opponent can dredge multiple times, but if they end up drawing one, that's when things are sort of a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to take some Creeping Chill damage here. And now my opponent has triple Shambling Shell in graveyard. Not great for me. This, though, this is quite good. Now I get to eat that Bazaar. Crash in for 3. Okay. Okay, Icarid gets milled. Okay. So I probably want to use 1 Path to Exile on this. And then the next one I'll probably have to use on Icarid rather than this Narcomoeba, which means the Spirit of the Labyrinth isn't attacking. Am I good with that? Yeah, I think I'm good with that. There is a cool thing that I could potentially do in a couple of turns. I can Legend Rule a Thalia to get rid of Bridge from Below's. Goodbye, Icarid. But I'm definitely fighting an uphill battle here. A lot of my hate bears are just, like, of medium quality here. Alright, so I'll take 1. And my life total is decreasing much faster than my opponent's. Alright, Petal. I'll attempt a Thalia. Okay, it resolves. So this whole Bridge from Below situation is not great for me. So my opponent can, like, exile the Grief or something, get Icarid, get 3 zombie tokens this turn. And the next turn, if I top a land, I can get rid of those bridges. Alright, I eat 1 here, going to 12. Okay. Yep. Alright, so there's the 3 zombie tokens. Alright, I did find a land, so I can Legend Rule Thalia. I guess that means that Thalia is making an attack here. He's going to die anyway. Is Spirit of the Labyrinth attacking? I don't think so. I might need to trade that body defensively. I need something like a Luminarch Aspirant to help me start just kind of taking care of things on the ground. I don't have the resources to keep doing shenanigans long term. Although that is 3 bridges down, so that does help quite a bit. My opponent also soon will just be able to discard the dredgers that they have. Yep. I'll take 1 per turn cycle here. Alright. This is not too bad. I get Luris. If I get Luris back, I can continue to Legend Rule Thalias or just save up some mana. But I can't really attack here. This is turning into a bit of a slog. I'm alive for way longer than I thought I was going to be. Oof. That is quite good. And now I'm not going to have lines of, like, attack with Spirit of the Labyrinth. I either get in 3 damage or I get to block, like, redeploy it from graveyard. All right. I will cast this, but it's not doing a ton here. Now, opponent can get Icarid back this turn if they want. So I kind of just think they're going to wait until they have another bridge in graveyard. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay. So they're just going to try to accelerate their clock. I respect it. I think I just need to trade this body here. I'm going to take 3. And now we're just kind of chilling. And my life total is more precious than my opponent's. I've used 3 of my 4 paths already, so getting rid of this Narcomoeba is kind of a big deal. In the not too distant future, I will also have to worry about my opponent just like creeping, chilling me, and I just instantly die. So I'll go down to 4 here. Oh, okay, they want to force the trade with Arbiter, which I'm good with. Yeah, again, creeping chill, putting me in a pretty bad place. Hot damn. So that takes care of the Narcomoeba in the short term. Now I can actually start attacking. I won't be able to attack next turn because my opponent can discard a Shambling Shell and then bring back Icarid. I have so many draws that I'm just scared of from my opponent. So there's 2 Bazaars remaining that would just probably instantly kill me. Okay, so they're going with a Grave Troll this turn. Okay, so that means that they can't actually bring back Icarid in this turn cycle. They're just going to try to dig for a Creeping Chill to kill me. So I need to attack here. Alright, they're at 13. Here's to dodging some cards. What is this? Yeah. Okay, that is a Narcomoeba. That's not great for me. So I'm going to have Icarid to worry about in the future as well here. Okay. This isn't actually all that bad. What does my opponent do if I attack with Spirit of the Labyrinth? Do they block? No? Because they want to get me in the range of a Creeping Chill just killing me, right? Creeping Chill is 3 damage? Creeping Chill is 3 damage. I think they want to attack with this Narcomoeba, so I'm going to attack with Spirit of the Labyrinth. Let's see if I'm right. Okay, I am correct. I think not missing that damage there is really important if I'm going to have any chance to win. My opponent will return Icarid here, junking like a Golgari thug. And then we're looking to dodge Creeping Chill. I did not dodge Creeping Chill. That is death for me. Next game. We put up more of a fight in game 1 than I was expecting. Alright, so Ley Lines need to come in. Serum Powder to find it needs to come in. Swords Containment Priest need to come in. Chalice can go. Misstep can go. Katakis can go. Relic Orders of May. Relic Orders of May. At this point, like, Arbiter, Relic Order are both kind of whatever. They're just like 2/2s with some flavor text. I guess let's go with Relic Order. Actually, no. Relic Order hits all at 1. So I'll junk Arbiters, keep Moms. Moms aren't exactly fantastic, but they can help me push some final damage. Yeah, this is fine. I guess the last question is, like, do I just want to board in Lurrus? I think Lurrus is probably better than a 2/2. This is a hand that can answer a Bazaar, but has no graveyard hate and no acceleration. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one. This hand is great. Absolutely keep this. What don't I want here? So I need to keep all these cards, I think. And then the question is, like, is Path or Relic Order better? They do different things. I think Path is better. It doesn't let me spend on power, though, which is kind of a big deal. Maybe I will junk the Path accordingly. So the thing that sucks here is that if my opponent kept something that has a Force of Vigor, I am going to lose 2 cards to it. I will lose both the Mox and my Leyline. But it looks like that was not the case. Yeah, and now we're going to see why Aspern is just so good in Vintage. This thing is going to outclass my opponent's threats pretty easily. Nice. This is great for just a touch later. Always yield to this. So we're attacking for 3 on turn 2. And that will only go up. I am just going to play this out as a 2/2. Then next turn I'll be able to attack with 2/3/3s if that's something that I want to do. You have to target something, and then you just pick no. Okay, I'm getting a pause from my opponent. Oh, it is not a Force of Vigor situation. Nice, nice. Okay, I will love strip mining this. Okay, cool. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. I think I'm going to go ahead and do Thalia pre-combat. And okay, my opponent's dead here. Well, not literally, but they've given up. I was going to put a counter on Thalia just to make it so that a single contagion counter wouldn't have killed her. Actually, maybe that's not true since I have Caracas to bounce. No, I would have gone for combat damage this turn. This is kind of a do nothing hand. Like I can play one Aspirant or one Thalia, and then I don't have any follow up play. This is a mulligan. I just need more mana here. Okay. How do I feel about this one? This has no persistent white source. Like, I can Lotus Petal one of my 2 creatures into play. I don't know that this hand is actually keepable. I'm gonna go deeper. I am going to keep this hand. This is 5. Yeah, I'll keep this. The Serum Powder can go back into the deck, and probably the Relic Order can go back into the deck. I'll get to start with a Leyline, and then I have an answer to a Bazaar that is digging for something that answers this. Otherwise, I just have a turn 2 something. Yeah, that's fine. Now my opponent knows about the strip mine. Best draw would probably just be a Mox here. That is one of the worst draws. That's just a Lotus Petal with extra steps. Here's to hoping that my opponent just has like a Wasteland or something and we make this trade. See what my opponent sends to exile. Oh, this game's gonna get really awkward for me. Okay, that's a handful of Icarids to exile. Yep. Okay, that's actually a fine draw. I am going to just take the time to strip mine this and take some damage from the hollow one. The Aspirant should, in theory, be able to outclass this hollow one over time. I am fine with taking some hits from this, especially if I draw more playable creatures. Fuck. That, though, is bad. That is the punishment for trying to play around my opponent finding an answer to the Leyline. I have paths and relic orders that I can draw to just take this out of play. Or I can just trade 2 creatures for it. So this is not the end of the world by any stretch of the imagination. But my opponent is probably the one who is favored here, because they are going to get to dictate the pace of combat. Contagion will also be very good in a ton of situations here. Note, my Luris is now in my deck, not in my sideboard, because I've boarded in Leylines. I can also draw a Thalia and do the Thalia block bounce trick. So I do have a fair number of outs here. That's not one of them. I'm going to continue to take as many cracks in as I can, but Spirit of the Labyrinth needs to stay back next turn. Alright, I need anything that is like a real live draw here. Yes. Opponent, please do not have Contagion. Contagion here is the most fucking savage of blowouts. It gets both of my creatures. Okay, that's bad. So now I have to chump block with Spirit of the Labyrinth to stay alive, and then my next card has to be a card that kills Hollow One. So I will be on 8 outs, I think. Plus Thalia's 12 outs. Down to 4. Alright. Could not quite get there. I needed it to be 1 card deeper, and then things would have started looking good. GG's. Okay, so the question here is, am I willing to keep a Sludgehammer hand? Essentially, I'm going to play turn 1 Aspirant, turn 2 Aspirant, and try to hit my opponent really, really hard in the face. I'm going to keep this because if my opponent is playing an artifact-based deck, I might be able to go Aspirant, Aspirant, and then cripple them with Kataki. And that's powerful. That's a vintage thing. Okay. We're playing against like some sort of like Deathrite Shaman-based deck, maybe. I haven't seen a Sylvan Library in vintage in a very long time. Keep in mind that I'm, not the biggest vintage player in the world. Am I willing to let my opponent have that much mana next turn? I think so. Like, if my opponent is playing like Tarmogoyfs and Deathrite Shamans, I just want to get this thing spiraling out of control as quickly as possible. And I think, like, because I can't use these Moxen otherwise, I don't think I'm going to take the time off to play Mother of Runes here. And we'll see if we can maybe outclass some Tarmogoyfs. I wish I had a white Moxen in the opening hand. I mean, I'm always going to say that because that's probably literally the best card in the deck for this deck, outside of maybe Black Lotus. Ooh. Oh, that is horrendous for me. Yeah. Probably don't beat that unless I top a land here. Thank you. Alright. So now I do this Song and Dance again, and then I'll be able to do combat through something like a Hull Breacher being flashed in. Alright, Force Will pitching a Preordain. Am I going to play around Hull Breacher? No. Let's get in there. See if my opponent has it. Nope. Okay. This is just a singular threat that will snowball, and my opponent is at 12 life already. I have a Path to Exile to get something like a Tarmogoyf out of the way. Okay. Now my opponent can get into removal colors here if they have, like, black removal. Okay, that's a recall. How scared am I? Not super scared. Yeah, okay, this is cool. Alright. So let's just try to get this out of the way. Alright, I've succeeded. We'll see if my opponent has a basic. They do. And now I'll bash in for 4. And the next question is, like, do I want to play Kataki? Or do I want to play Mom? Oh, okay, they have Decay. Okay, so what's the next play? Lurrus? Put Lurrus in hand. Next turn, play Lurrus. If I top a land, I can play Luminarch. And if I don't, I can play, like, Mom. I don't think I like my Katakis here. Yeah, I think I'm just going to use my mana efficiently and put this in hand. What was that? Oh, that was a Gush. Now, my opponent could find, like, a Wasteland and take me off of white-white, which would be a little bit annoying. There's a lot of colorless sources in this deck. And by that, I mean colorless sources or non-white sources, because a lot of the things like Mox Emerald and Mox Ruby don't actually produce true white. Making Lurrus just, like, a wee bit less reliable than you might want it to be. Sure. Narset is less scary against me than against many other decks in the format. Okay, finding a Brainstorm, no big deal. Spirit of the Labyrinth. Yeah, we're doing that over Lurrus this turn, I think. Let's put that into play. Or try to. Okay, it has resolved. Put a Mom into play now. Narset's ability is still going to work normally, but I'll shut off the Sylvan Library from doing Sylvan Library stuff. Okay. They pitched a Treasure Cruise, which I guess makes sense. I guess this means they have access to a removal spell to just kill the Spirit of the Labyrinth. We're hoping to drag this game to the point where I can get some sick Lurrus-based value. But my Moxen are more valuable to me than my opponent's Moxen are to them right now, so my Kataki in hand is kind of a dead card. Oh, they found Demo Tutor. That's bad. That's bad for me. Okay, what is that? Oh god, Oko. I haven't seen one of these in a while. The Kataki starts to become slightly more appealing now. I wish I had another white mana. That way I could play, like, Lurrus and immediately play Aspirin out of the graveyard. I don't think that gets to happen. Am I at the point where I have to play the Kataki because the food started to become problematic? Maybe. Yeah. I don't envy my current position very much. I'm trying to take my opponent off of black. Alright, cool. Back the Oko. Goes down to 3. And now I'll play Kataki. Which notably is bounceable. Kataki and Tabernacle type cards are really annoying on Magic Online because they all create individual triggers that you have to auto-yield to or click through. Oh, it looks like my opponent is just letting their Moxen go. That's sick for me. And honestly, a little unexpected. Huh. Alright, so I'll just use my Moxen to pay for themselves here. You're no longer an artifact, right? Yeah, you're no longer an artifact. Alright. So we're going to junk my opponent's Sylvan Library here. And I don't think I want to attack the Oko this turn and just trade this straight up. I think I want to play towards drawing a path. Alright, so my opponent is going to create a food. think I'm going to use the emerald to pay for the ruby and then play Lurrus. And then just sacrifice the Mox itself. Oh, a wasteland. Don't mind if I do. So we'll wasteland my opponent's Trop. Play Lurrus. Replay a Mox from my graveyard. Now I probably need to attack this. I can replay stuff from my graveyard. If my Lurrus is still around. And if my opponent tries to steal it with Oko, I can just bounce it with Caracas. Yeah, that's fine. So now my opponent is going to lose this food in their upkeep because they don't have the mana to pay for the Kataki tax here. Actually, yeah, so I guess that means that they can't just minus. Okay, looks like I navigated this one pretty well and kind of threaded the needle. Yeah, that's fine. That actually increases the size of this. And now I just get to kill Oko in combat. Alright, so I'll pay for my stuff. This is a great pickup. Well, actually, I guess technically I should attack with these first. Send Oko to the Shadow Realm. Nice. Play Arbiter. No fetching allowed. Man, I'm super happy with how this game turned out. That top deck Wasteland that allowed me to kill that food there was actually really good. Okay, I don't think I have too much for this matchup. Like, I don't really want, like, Stony Silences or Null Rods. Lurrus is better than something like Serum Powder. I'll probably just, like, board in this Swords to Plowshares over something and call that good. Relic Orders are whatever. Chalice is kind of whatever. Opponent's got very, very varied mana costs. I think I'm going to sub one Kataki out for a Swords, because I think the Kataki is awkward in this matchup, because, like, I definitely want to keep this stuff around and just call that good. I could also see going down, like, a Relic Warder or a Chalice or something. This is an auto mulligan. It only has a single mana source. This hand is bananas. I'm going to throw back a land here. I think I'll keep the Caracas even though it's wastelandable. Okay. Sure. I don't know how to play turn 1. Playing turn 1 is really hard here. I'm going to start by seeing if the Black Lotus resolves, because it's way easier if it does. Okay. They have 4 mana. I think the most optimal thing is to play both of these. It's just a little awkward in terms of, like, this is meant to protect those, and I'm just nakedly playing them out. No, I'm going to play Mom, I think. Let's start here. Force pitching a mental misstep. So now it's like, do I want to make the more forceful play? Or do I want to play the safer play? I think I want the safer play here. Because if my opponent has something like an Abrupt Decay, they want to use it this turn on the Mom before the Mom is active. And then I can play Spirit afterwards. I'm a little terrified of something like an Oko on turn 2. Fuck. Okay. So I've gotten better at pressuring the Oko in the immediate future, so that's good for me. That's also not bad. That's a great follow-up. I'll whack the Oko down to 2. And play Spirit of the Labyrinth, which hopefully resolves. Okay, nice. So I have Path to Exile. Or if my opponent just turns their own Deathrite Shaman into a 3/3 to try to blunt the assault. Okay. Yeah. How good's that last card? Good enough that my opponent wants to fetch. Okay. Okay, it's just food. This is hexproof. What the fuck? Well. Oh. Well, that's pretty good. Okay. Yeah. Hexproof. Oh, alright, just 100% did not expect that. So which is more valuable? The Spirit of the Labyrinth or the Mother of Runes with the bigger butt? I think the Spirit of the Labyrinth is. Go to combat. Actually, no, I don't think that's true anymore. Because next turn gets a little weird. Alright. I'll now Path to Exile this so my opponent can't chump block with it. And then I get to kill one of Thrun or Oko here. We'll send this at Oko. I expect my opponent gives up their Thrun. Yep, that is what's happening. And Thrun just, like, very specifically ruined my plans. Yep. The thing here is, like, now I get to use Luminarch Aspirant to make this into a 4/4, and I can still attack into Oko through this food token. Okay. Yield to this. And in at Oko. The next turn's not great for me, though, because my opponent can then have 6 power. Oh, shit. I forgot about my Lurrus. That's a really bad mistake. That's a really bad mistake. I could have played Lurrus and then, like, played a Spirit of the Labyrinth immediately in one turn. Or played Lurrus, gotten Black Lotus. Yeah, that was bad. Alright, so now I'll put Lurrus to hand. It's a little later than it should be. I'm gonna just spread the love here in case Luminarch Aspirant gets turned into an Elk. The next turn I have Lurrus, Lotus, Thalia. Oh, this is gonna be an active Mom too. Alright. This turn's pretty good if my opponent doesn't have Force. Why do I even talk? Why do I even talk? Alright. Here? Now let's go here. I'll just chill. Oh, I could have put it on this Mother of Runes and then next turn gone Protection on that Mother and tried to kill Oko that way. I don't like how I'm playing this game. Okay. Okay. I'm still gonna be fine because my opponent drew a blank. That also helps. Alright, so let's do this Aspirant trigger. Turn this into an X5. Pro green this. Kill Oko. Alright. I have recovered from my mistake. Do I want to kill a food before the Thalia tax is around? I think so. I think I want to just, like, kill one of these and then have the ability to bounce this Thalia if my opponent tries to get aggressive. But I think I'm good now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, fetch away. Do I even attack? So I have 6, 9, 10, 11. No, I will go ahead and just Thalia bounce. My opponent's playing like they have an out, so I don't know what their out is off the top of my head, but I'll sandbag things a little bit. Alright, so yeah. Redeploy Thalia and hit in for 8 here and give this a counter to just make defensive things better. Alright, so there's 8. And keep Mom and Thalia back. Sure. That does not particularly matter here. Play cat. So this already kills in 2 turns. Maybe continue to stack up some stuff here. Yeah, let's continue to stack up some stuff here in case things go wrong. So we'll pro-green this so I can get through. And bash that in. And I think I'm even good if my opponent has, like, Time Warp. Yeah, alright. We are on the scoreboard. I made a couple of pretty boneheaded errors that time, but managed to get myself back in through them. Okay, this is kind of a tough opening hand. So I have a lot of mana denial here, and if my opponent isn't on a very strong hand, this hand can be quite good. But this is like an excellent legacy hand and acceptable vintage hand. I think I'm gonna keep this one rather than mulliganing. Like, I have stable mana unless I get Ghost Quartered or Strip Mined. Well, I guess Strip Mine specifically. I'm thinking about Ghost Quarter once this is in play. Alright, let's go Legacy deck. But this hand can become pretty obnoxious. Alright, that's what I do not want to see. I wanted to be taking my opponent off of most or all of their mana here. We done got vintaged. That's insult to injury as well, because now they can get 2 things, and I can only wasteland 1 thing next turn. Just absolutely brutal. Yeah. I have to wasteland the Strip Mine, otherwise I'm completely off of white. Yeah, this was just a classic hand of where, like, I kept a hand that was going to be fantastic versus a blue deck, and then I got paired against Chops. Like, so it goes. Like, my Arbiter was too slow for the turn 1 Golos. My Ghost Quarter got neutered by double piece of mana acceleration plus plus Golos. God damn it. Alright, next game. Just honestly, I can't beat that here. Like, my entire hand was mana denial, and it was just invalidated so incredibly hard. Alright, I think we ended up boarding in all of the null rod effects previously, like all of this sort of stuff. I went Chalice out, Path out, Mom's out, and then I cut one other random card. Did I cut one Arbiter before? Or did I just not play one of the null rod effects? I don't remember which way I did that before. Maybe let's go with one Thalia. I think it's a little hard to tell like what that last cut should be. Or even if I should be bringing in that many null rod effects. Yeah, I guess. Again, this is a nice legacy hand, though. We haven't opened up on very much power here. I very much do want the power. Now there's this really weird question of, like, do I want to play around the Singleton Strip Mine by not playing the Plains on one? And then, like, reveal that I have this stuff so that my opponent might not sequence their lands in the way that I want them to sequence their lands. I'm not going to play around Strip Mine. Very punishing if I'm wrong, but I really don't want to show these on turn 1. Okay. Yeah. Stony Silence into Kataki is going to be kick-ass here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I have a very clear plan now. Here's potentially my win condition. Yeah, so Mishra's Workshop does not produce mana that can actually pay for Kataki. So all those permanents are going bye-bye. Yeah, so I'll strip mine Inventor's Fair. And then drop Kataki. Yeah, Revoker's fine. That is just another card to be eaten by my very hungry Kataki. Okay. I do not know whether or not this specific player is playing a, whatchamacallit, a Wastes, so I'm going to use Strip Mine over Ghost Quarter here, even though Strip Mine is a little bit, like, quote-unquote better. Alright. Kataki! Feels good when you get a 5-for-1 off of your 2-1 Hate Bear. Sick. Alright, here's to hoping we open up a vintage hand for the next game, though. This will qualify as a vintage hand in a lot of scenarios. I think I keep this one. Especially considering that, like, the Lurrus can rebuy the Lotus in the not-too-distant future. Just Wasteland, turn 1? Yeah, I think I'm just going to Wasteland on turn 1. Just junk that. Play Jet, Lotus. I think I just do go ahead and go in here. Play the Aspirant. Play the Kataki. I don't care that my Mox is getting taxed. Let's protect this from Ballista. 4 power plus destroying a land and deploying a scaling card and a hate card on turn 1. That was a vintage hand. Yeah. That's fine. I think, again, in respect of... Ooh. Alright, what do you have for me? So let's protect this. I have a Path to Exile for a creature that my opponent can play. I think I put the counter on Luminarch Aspirant, again, in respect of Walking Ballista being a thing that can occur. So let's go ahead and do that. And bash in for 5. So my opponent will pay for their Mystic Forge, and then we'll see how much they can do with it. They are not particularly going to be alive for a long time. Like, this damage is scaling up quickly, and I can get the first blocker out of the way. Oh, that's just their turn. That is not good for them. So let's pay for our Jet. I guess there's not much of a downside of just playing this out. It will pay for itself. And I can actually do this then. I am unsure which one of these to put the counter on from here. Let's put it on the Aspirant. So there's 6. I get 7 next turn. So if my opponent activates Mystic Forge, they are dead on board. Okay, so they need a blocker or they are dead. Alright, hot damn. We beat Shops, which is a very tough matchup. So we're now even with this league. Let's see if we can come out slightly ahead and 3-2 this. Alright, so for my final round here, definitely have a vintage opening hand. So I get to go Lotus, Luminarch, Kataki on turn 1, and then blow up my opponent's next 2 lands. That should be pretty strong in a vacuum. It's not the craziest thing this deck can do, but when this deck has mana acceleration, it looks pretty good. Opponent went down to 5 cards, by the way. Let's start on Aspirant, and then drop Kataki. And I think I'm going to put the counter on the Aspirant itself, in the absence of any information about which one of these things I would want to protect or rumble with and whatnot. Okay. Did you get Ancestral? Okay, I don't think I need to strip mine this pre-combat. I'm going to split these up now. Back for 5 on turn 2. Nice. I have a small regret. I think I should have played Strip Mine pre-combat and then done the attack. Alright, so I'll drop Mom. And if my opponent has Ancestral, the Ancestral in response. Guess I'll just do this now. I don't care about playing a Mom around a Daze, and Daze isn't super common anyway. So I just have my opponent on a 2-turn clock by attacking naturally. Assuming the Mom gets in the red zone. I'm not 100% sure if the Mom gets in the red zone or not right now. 2 basic islands. Not sure what that means. Okay. So luckily, in a lot of cases, if we're playing against a blue deck, I don't sideboard a lot. The thing is, if my opponent is playing like a PO deck or something, I really want these Stony Silences and Null Rods, and if they're not, I very much don't want those. And I basically saw 2 lands and an Ancestral. So that doesn't give me a lot to work with. I think I'm just going to submit the game 160 again, and then if we go to a game 3, I'll make adjustments from there. But I think my deck just ends up more... How do I say this? My deck ends up being more worse if I'm wrong than my deck ends up becoming more better if I am correct. And I know I'm using like double comparatives there, but like I think that's the clearest way to say what I want to say. This is an awkward hand. I know this Ghost Quarter isn't going to be fantastic. I have a turn 1 Chalice on 1 and a Mental Misstep for something that my opponent does. If the Chalice on 1 resolves, my Mental Misstep becomes dead. This is super weird. Do I still keep it? Maybe I still keep it. Got 2 restricted cards. It probably works out. That's actually quite good. So now we can play a Lotus and then play 2 cards on turn 1. The order has to be Chalice followed by Thalia. Okay. Well. Oh wow, my opponent still has Flusterstorm in. That's super interesting. That occurs. I will Mental Misstep literally anything that my opponent puts on the stack with CMC1. Yes. I'm just trying to get value out of this card before I drop this Chalice of the Void on 1. That's a lot of islands. Okay. Lotus Petal. I think I want to drop Chalice. I don't know what the matchup is right now, which makes it very hard for me to tell which one of these 2 things is better. Dig this art, though. It's a very awkward Kataki. I don't know if I'm going to play that right now. In fact, I think I am not. Well, let's try Thalia. Thalia resolves. I'm not going to deploy the Kataki. I think it's better to just, like, not be taxing my mana. Yeah, I don't think I want to be taxing my own mana paying for this stuff. I think I want to be using my mana to work towards Luris. Okay. Alright, I mean, let's get in there. A little hard for me to tell how much of an impact my cards are currently having on my opponent. Yeah, I think I'm just not going to tax my own mana with this Kataki. If I get access to a recurring Black Lotus, then, like, that's another thing. Like, then maybe at that point I start thinking about doing the Kataki. But the 2-1's not getting in the red zone anyway because of Snapcaster Mage. Yeah, I'll go to 16 here. That's fine. Finding Kataki more and more awkward. Alright. Well, Luris, I will use that. Get a Black Lotus. I think at this point I go ahead and go to combat. Send the Thalia in, see if the Thalia dies randomly for some reason. Does not. Alright, I guess I play this to just increase the amount of power that's in play now. It costs me 2 of my mana, but I have Black Lotus every turn. I'm not too concerned about that. I also just, like, have no idea how many basic lands my opponent is playing. Like, this is the 4th basic island. I legitimately don't know what my opponent is doing. Alright, I'll just pay for these with my colorless sources. What on earth were you trying to do with 4 mana? Do you have, like, frickin' Cryptic Command over there? I'm not gonna attack in with Lurrus, but I'll happily attack in with the other two. Yep, that's a great trade for me. It takes a creature off the board, and then I get value out of playing stuff out of the graveyard with Lurrus. And I can play a Mum. No, I can't. Okay. Alright, that was bad on my end. A 5th basic island. Okay, Aspirant's cool. I'll play it. If it gets countered, I can play it again immediately. Does not. I guess I'll put this on Lurrus so that Lurrus can't be ambushed by a Snapcaster Mage. Oh, is it straight up just like Vintage High Tide? Yeah, it looks like it is straight up just Vintage High Tide. Play a Lotus Petal from graveyard that I pay for. I guess it's better to play a Mox. Yeah, the combination of Thalia plus Chalice in play. Probably pretty annoying for my opponent here. Still takes me 2 turns to kill my opponent, though. I should start leaving my Ghost Quarter up, though, now that I know they're High Tide. Oh, my opponent typed out a message, said something along the lines of, sorry for the boring games, I'm playing a High Tide deck that has, like, Skull Clamp and some utility creatures, and gave me the GGs. Okay, we turned this league around. We started out 0-2 and ended up 3-2. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Fine. Nothing overly exciting. I always wonder with these sorts of decks, like, how greedy is too greedy when it comes to the actual colorless sources. So if we take a quick look at mana here, we have 16 white producing sources versus 11 non-white producing sources. And most of the time, you only need 1 white source in your opener in order for things to be functional. But when that white source is Lotus Petal or Black Lotus, sometimes you don't have persistent white. So we really only have 14 persistent white sources in the deck. And that means roughly half of the mana sources in the deck don't really permanently produce the colors that you need them to be producing. So, like, that is definitely a thing. Like, maybe you're not supposed to play the 2 Ghost Quarters, maybe you're supposed to play 1 Ghost Quarter for more white sources. The white sources in particular are really important for the Relic Order and the Lurrus, and basically any hand that doesn't have a white source is basically unkeepable, unless you get some real weird situations involving a turn 1 Chalice of the Void on the play or something like that. Yeah, you know, you can steal games with that sometimes. The creature suites felt pretty good. Of the things here, Mom kind of felt like the weakest. But we did play against Shops twice and Dredge, where Mom is perhaps not going to be at her best, so I'm not overly surprised that I have that feeling after this. There also might be some consideration to be playing a split of Giver of Runes and Mother of Runes in Vintage, since Shops is such a prevalent deck and the protection of the colorless from colorless can be a big deal. But I'm not 100% sure there. We also ran into, like, the Chalice of the Void Mother of Runes thing once, but that was just on me for, like, having streamer brain. I really liked the Serum Powder in the sideboard. I was very skeptical when I first looked at the list, but, like, after seeing that in action, just having the ability to really mulligan towards a specific thing you need is pretty solid. I don't know that I want to be playing more than maybe 1 or 2 of them, but since we're kind of pre-boarded for blue decks in many ways in the first place, like, a Serum Powder is totally not a crazy slot. Yeah, I don't think I have too much else to say. I've always felt like these Hate Bear style decks have been at the fringe of Vintage playability, where you just have very polarized matchups. Some of your matchups are great, some of your matchups are horrible, and if you draw, you know, decently in a matchup that's good for you, you're going to win at a huge portion of the time. And we also had a decent amount of play and a huge number of decisions in this, especially involving, like, where are we going to put the counters for Luminarch Aspirant for the various fringe cases that matters. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button. That's the easiest way to support me for free. If you want to see more Vintage on the channel, please consider donating to make that happen. Have a great rest of the day. That information, as well as this deck list, is in the video description. See ya! Bye-bye! So long!